Beneath the radar of mainstream headlines, a quiet but critical shift is taking place at sea. Over the past few days, the U.S. Navy has been discreetly repositioning assets dedicated to the most nerve-wracking and invisible domain of naval combat: mine warfare. Two vessels at the center of this movement are the USS Chief and the USS Pioneer. These aren't sleek, futuristic warships. They are relics of the late Cold War Avenger-Class Minesweepers. Built with wooden hulls sheathed in fiberglass to mask their magnetic signatures, they are designed this way because, in this deadly game, even the metal of a ship can trigger an explosion. At $250 million each, they are relatively cheap by Navy standards, but what they lack in a massive price tag, they make up for in razor-sharp specialization. Their only job is hunting mines up close. Long written off by many as obsolete and destined for the scrapyard, they are now sailing toward one of the most volatile maritime choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. It's a 1-mile wide bottleneck where nearly 20% of the globe's oil flows daily. So, why resurrect these aging, slow-moving vessels and send them into the world's ultimate powder keg? What exactly are they expecting to find in the dark? Joining them are the USS Tulsa and USS Santa Barbara. Priced around $500 to $600 million, these littoral combat ships are built for high-speed adaptability, capable of blasting past 40 miles per hour at sea. They feature modular designs, meaning they can swap out equipment based on the mission, and mine warfare is on the menu. But here is the critical detail. Until recently, these modern ships were patrolling thousands of miles away in Southeast Asia, near Singapore and Malaysia. The sudden convergence of aging wooden sweepers and high-tech modern warships in the Middle East points to one undeniable reality. This isn't a random patrol, this is preparation. And it highlights a massive clash in tactical philosophy. The Avenger-class ships sail directly into the teeth of the danger. They crawl at just a few miles per hour, relying on raw experience and meticulous navigation to physically enter the minefield. There is no buffer zone. The LCS platforms, however, keep the threat at arm's length. They don't enter the minefield directly. Instead, they project an invisible technological shield, relying on a web of drones, helicopters, and remote systems to do the dirty work miles away from the hull. It boils down to a stark choice. Do you trust remote technology to keep your crew safe, or do you send in specialized ships to face the threat head-on? When the Navy relies on technology, it creates a layered defense. Miles ahead of ships like the Tulsa, unmanned surface vehicles prowl the waters. These robotic boats tow advanced sonar arrays, mapping the ocean floor in real time and feeding the data back to operators. The math here is brutal but practical. If a hidden mine detonates, it takes out a replaceable machine, not a warship carrying over 100 sailors. Beneath the surface, it's a game of shadows. Sonar arrays scan for the slightest anomalies in shape and density. Naval mines are masters of disguise. Some are anchored, some drift, and others bury themselves in the mud. In a heavily trafficked waterway like the Strait of Hormuz, the seabed is littered with trash, cables, and rocks. Operators spend grueling hours staring at monitors, trying to answer one terrifying question: is that just ocean debris, or is it a bomb waiting to go off? Above them, MH-60 Seahawk helicopters skim the waves, using airborne lasers to rapidly sweep the upper layers of the water. It's incredibly fast and maps danger zones much quicker than sonar. But it's vulnerable to muddy water and bad weather. Even with cutting-edge tech, uncertainty remains. And that leads to a chilling thought. What happens if you miss one? When a threat is verified, remotely operated vehicles take over. These underwater drones swim directly to the mine, plant a small explosive charge, and retreat before blowing it to pieces. It's controlled and precise, saving human divers from unimaginable risk. But the reality that keeps commanders awake at night is absolute. You have to find every single mine. Missing just one is game over. Providing top cover for this delicate operation are behemoths like the USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Michael Murphy. These are $2 billion, 500, foot destroyers armed to the teeth with advanced Aegis radars and missiles. They aren't there to sweep mines. They are there to guard the sweepers. Because clearing a minefield often happens under immense pressure and sometimes under fire. But what if the unthinkable happens and a mine detonates beneath one of these billion-dollar leviathans? The physics of an underwater blast are uncompromising. The explosion creates a massive gas bubble that violently expands and collapses, lifting the warship entirely out of the water before gravity slams it down, snapping the ship's keel, its structural spine, in two. It doesn't matter how thick the armor is or how advanced the radar is, physics simply does not care. Yes, these destroyers are built with heavily reinforced hulls and damage control systems to survive hits, but no ship is invincible, and in a minefield, there are no second chances. So, when you connect the dots, the wooden sweepers moving in, the high-tech LCS deploying drones, the massive destroyers standing guard, the picture is grim. This isn't symbolic. It is a dress rehearsal for the day the world's most critical oil artery is laced with explosives. If that day comes, who clears the path? And how much risk are we willing to absorb to keep the global economy breathing? Because beneath the waves, there are no sirens, no visible threats, just the silent weight. And right now, the U.S. Navy is quietly preparing for the storm.